I don't know. And you won't find it from this video either. Alright, I'm gonna order some food and fuck off. But you might ask, then why am I making a video about this instead of watching a death metal singer do vocal exercises? Well, first of all, because this is a highly divisive topic. And I love divisive topics.
This is where the fun begins.
Secondly, even though this topic is, to put it mildly, not my area of expertise, I've noticed that my stance in this debate is hardly represented at all, and rational arguments are buried under a pile of well-sounding mantras that actually mean nothing. And since I'm in the fortunate position that 98% of my channel's viewers are men, we, my dear fellow men, can discuss in this little men's club of ours why exactly we earn more money than women. Wait, let's quickly clear off that remaining 2%. You know how Leverkusen played? Dude, I'm totally more of an ass guy. You prefer boobs? For me, it's Revenge of the Sith, the Empire No, Revenge of the Sith is the best. By the way, Briton archers counter skirmishers pretty well. Oh, that's a tough one. I will go with Kunhalmi, but Doro Duro isn't bad either. Check this out. Passat, 3 grand, first owner, towage, 2 years of technical inspection, 250,000 mileage. Yeah, 2006 model. Alright, now that all the women have left, we can finally talk about the wage gap. But what is the wage gap? The gender wage gap, or gender pay gap, shows how much less, percentage-wise, women earn compared to men in a given country. Okay, but obviously they earn less because there are way more retired women, which significantly affects the statistics. No, not like that. You have to look at the working age population. Okay, but a lot of women are on maternity leave or being financially supported by their husbands. No, not like that. You have to look at the working age, working men and women. Okay, but they obviously earn less because many women work fewer hours a day due to childcare, household duties, or other things, so of course they make less money. No, come on, not like that. You have to look at full-time working women and full-time working men only. Okay, but fewer women work full-time than men, so overall they will obviously earn less in total. No, not like that. You have to look at average earnings. So on average, how much do men and women working full-time earn? Come on, it's not that hard to understand. Okay, but if we are talking about average earnings, then Lawrence Butcher alone raises the monthly average salary of all working Hungarian men by 12,000 forints compared to women. That's not even a joke, it's actually true. No, not like that, So as you can see, even defining the wage gap is no simple task. As far as I could decipher, the wage gap represents the difference between the median salaries of full-time employed men and women, meaning how much less the salary is for the middle-earning woman compared to the middle-earning man. And since women, almost without exception, earn less than men in every country, we can say that we live in a male-dominated, oppressive, patriarchal world where women are subordinate, and just like everywhere else, it's much harder for them to succeed or break through at work. Well, you finally blurted it out. Oh, come on! Did you really think this was gonna be a feminist video?
Yes,
Alright,
exactly.
well,
That's
what
what
it
it
is.
is.
What's it
You
like
know,
to be a woman?
that
Love
was
it.
right.
Or what it's like to be
raised
listed like that.
Alright,
Alright, listen. My absolute goal with this series is to examine and understand both sides of the argument. So first, let's find some common ground we can all agree on. Sounds good? Alright, okay, sure. I think we can all acknowledge that there is a prevailing belief in society that men should make a lot of money.
A nők meg tudjanak szülni. Szüljenek, de azt is a konyhába.
Na hát igen.
See, that's right. And we can also agree, can't we, that women's biology is fundamentally different from men's, especially when it comes to reproduction. Yes? Meaning that if a couple has a child, then due to human biology, societal norms, and simply different personal interests, it's far more likely that the mother will stay home with the child, sacrificing her working hours for this responsibility. And fewer hours worked means fewer opportunities to advance in one's career. So a woman, if she wants children, ends up at a disadvantage compared to her male colleagues, since she has less time to climb the same career ladder. On top of that, jobs that come with higher salaries typically require a long period of training and are often project-based with timelines that can stretch over several years. Which means these jobs aren't ideal for those who may take years-long breaks from work or who might have to suddenly dash home at any time, say because their child got sick at kindergarten. It can then be said that the human body and human nature are unfortunately this unfair, and that is why women earn less money than men. And you're sure that's all you wanted to say? Of course, that's all. Well, I mean, we actually agree on this, don't we? But why don't men stay home with the kids? I don't know. I would love to stay home with my child. Ignore her, she just became a feminist yesterday. Okay, so this wasn't actually too bad. I thought we were gonna get the usual male chauvinist speech, but this was actually fair. Really? Well, I'm glad to hear that. So guys, see you in the next video. But wait, oh no. This doesn't solve the problem. Please no. That, please. Equal pay for equal work! Equal pay for equal work! But it doesn't work like that. Oh, really? Then how does it work? Why do women get less money for the same job, huh? Just because they are women, right? Do we really have to go into this? See, you can't answer it either. Oh, come on! I really don't want to play the big economist here, especially since I already got burned on this topic. But you leave me no choice. Alright, never mind. Let's just get it over with. Zoli, the economist, explaining how markets work. Actually, I have no idea what an economist looks like. What do they look like? In everyday life, we are used to walking into a store and seeing a price tag under every product showing exactly how much we have to pay for it. Except in Lidl where it's above them. I swear I keep messing that up. But in reality, products don't have an exact value. Their price is determined by how much we, the buyers, are willing to pay for them. If they sold the product at a higher price, fewer people would buy it, or we would just go to another store where we could get it cheaper. But the opposite is also true. The store can't just keep lowering the price forever, because they have various costs associated with that product, plus they would still like to make some profit on it. There is actually a graph for this X-shaped curve, which honestly is a bit beyond my comprehension, but I still try to use it to illustrate my points, hoping that it will be more illustrative. If I say anything stupid, feel free to correct me. So, the store will adjust the price, either lowering or raising it, to maintain the most optimal balance for itself, which on this graph is where the two lines intersect. If the price goes above this point, it means too few people are buying the product, so it makes sense to lower the price. And if the price falls below this point, it means people would actually be willing to pay more for it. Holy shit. What kind of line did I just draw? Like someone who's fucking wasted. Wish I was. However, if we often go shopping, we may also notice that the prices of completely identical products can vary significantly from one store to another.
A bottle of water can cost 50 cents in a supermarket, $2 at a gym, $3 at a cinema, and $6 on an airplane. The only thing that changes its value is the location. So the next time you feel like you're worth nothing, you might just be in the wrong place.
Ez nagyon sokat mond a társadalomról.
Igen. Now, how much we are willing to pay for something depends on a lot of factors. First and foremost, whether we could get it cheaper or easier somewhere else, but also on things like the store's location, opening hours, size, selection, reputation, or advertising. And there are a ton of other human factors, like how long the checkouts line are, how clean the store is, how friendly the employees are, even the quality of the flooring can make a difference. If a given store performs well in all these aspects, then it can charge us more for the same product, and we will be willing to pay. And of course, the reverse is also true. If we don't find a store particularly appealing in these respects, or it hasn't invested enough in them, then it has only one option: to lower its prices. Supply and demand. And the labor market functions in exactly the same way. Except in reverse, you are the product, or at least your work is, and the buyer is your employer who pays you for it. And you are trying to convince them to buy from you, in other words, to hire you for the job. If in labor market, labor market. Oh, that's cute. If in labor market terms your work is more valuable, rarer, and harder to replace, then you can ask for more money, because the employer will be willing to pay more for it. Or if not, you can just go somewhere else where they will properly value your work. And the opposite is also true. If your work is easily replaceable and not very specialized, then you can demand a high salary, because even if you did, your employer wouldn't pay it, knowing that no one else would either. Supply and demand. So the market will price different types of work differently, which means it's crystal clear that women do not perform the same work as men. And how do we know this so precisely? Well, because there is a wage gap. It works in exactly the opposite direction to the way feminists think about it. It's not a question of equalizing wages or bouncing them back and forth, or whining about how much one makes and how little the other makes, or commemorating October 29th as the day when women work for free for the rest of the year. It's the other way around. Pay is a pretty good measure of what a person does in terms of labor market values. Arguing for the elimination of the wage gap by artificial means is as absurd as saying it's not the needle on the scale that shows the true weight difference between the objects on either side, but rather both items will weigh the same if I just use my finger to cleverly adjust the needle in the middle. Holy shit, absolute nonsense! And that's also the reason why we will never ever get a real answer to the question: if women do the exact same job as men, then why don't companies hire only women?
Companies can pay women less.
Yes.
Why don't they hire all women?
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Really?
I understand your argument, and I understand that you're angry.
I'm not angry.
I can hear it in your voice. Listen
not
to your
angry.
voice.
Because what kind of idiot employer would intentionally hire a man for the same job just to pay him more money? Obviously, they aren't just paying him more money for no reason, it benefits them too. Let's not be that naive. What?
Yes,
thank
so
you,
we were
that's
not
what
dumber,
we
we
get
get
it.
it.
Alright,
Yes,
that's
we-
see,
exactly
this is why I didn't
everything.
want to
We're
get
not
into
dumber.
it.
Yeah,
Men
you
just
not
like
like
that
that.
smart
We are
kids.
smart
No,
women.
that's
Very
true.
women.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Men tend to apply for higher paying jobs like doctor, lawyer, engineer, while women apply for lower paying jobs like female doctor, female lawyer, female engineer.
Yes, that's very funny. Yes,
Wait. Companies should hire trans people because they have the brain power of a man and the strength of a man, but they only need to be paid a woman's salary. And
No,
this
that's
is
exactly
what
what
everyone is This never gets old. Sisters, we must not let this wild, provocative man crush everything we fought for. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Here we go again. The whole equal pay for equal work. Once I went out on a date with a super feminist girl who worked in HR, and she told me that at her company, which was a giant multi-corporation, they made it a priority to hire as many women as possible. And I asked her, okay, but I'm generally curious, especially from an HR perspective, how does this actually work in practice? If a man and a woman both apply for the same job, and you objectively believe the man will do it better, do you still hire the woman just to have more women? And the answer I heard absolutely blew my mind. She said that in such a case, of course the man gets hired, but if, in their judgment, both the woman and the man are equally suitable for the job, then they will definitely hire the woman. And I couldn't believe it when I heard that. First of all, how discriminatory it is. Imagine if I said, if a black and a white person have the exact same qualifications, I will hire the white person for sure. Right? Because, I don't know, we already have too many damn niggers in this warehouse. How could I say that? But that's just the smaller problem here. My bigger problem is that two people will never do the exact same work. Of different ages, different abilities, different experiences, graduated from different schools, with different levels of endurance, different adaptability, different stress tolerance, with different precision, work methods, word use, presentation styles, boldness, ambition, conscience, physical strength.
etc., etc.
Two people like that will never do the same job in the same way, because there are simply too many factors for them to be exactly alike. Moreover, you can't even properly measure their performance. But even if you could, say in a screw factory, where the only thing that matters is how many screws each person produces per day, it still wouldn't be equal. One might make higher quality screws that last longer, another might make better looking screws which makes them easier to sell. But even if they both produce the exact same number and kind of screws, it could still easily happen that one of them is always willing to stay 2 extra hours during the Christmas rush, while the other isn't flexible at all in that regard. No! Two people will never have the exact same output. Never. And that's why this equal pay for equal work thing is such a huge load of bullshit. Two people will never do the same job. Let's forget this nonsense. By the way, that feminist girl I went on a date with, she earned 900,000 forints per month, which wouldn't be a bad salary today, especially back then. Meanwhile, at the same time, I was making 450, and she could still argue with a straight face about how women are disadvantaged in the labor market. Of course, that doesn't mean all women earn more than men. It's just funny how every time I get into a debate about wage gap or female quota, the woman arguing with me always earns twice as much as I do. Never mind, I just find it hilarious. So, returning to the point. Even people working in the same position never do exactly the same job, let alone men and women in general, who often choose completely different professions. So arguing that they should get the same pay goes completely against all existing market logic. It's like saying every store should charge the exact same price for every product. But why should they? We have just looked at how many different aspects determine the price of a product in different shops. It would simply go completely against market logic to artificially interfere with this. Alright, then let the cat out of the bag. Why do men and women work the same jobs, huh? Why not? Because women are dumber, right? That's the big fucking secret here, right? They are dumb, that's the point, isn't it? Whoa, wait. I'm just saying they don't do the same job. Because they are dumber. Congratulations, that's exactly the kind of male chauvinism you're putting forth here. That's what I expected. It's not about that at all. It's not a question of ability. It's a question of preference. Women and men work in completely different fields. They choose different careers because they feel comfortable and useful in different professions. And this is entirely their decision. This is proven by the fact that when you examine the wage gap, not in general, but within the same professions, that scary evil wage gap suddenly shrinks to a tiny traction. Men and women are interested in different things. Boobs, Bitcoin, tanks, forting. And women are into different things than men. Okay, that was just an example. But seriously, women will generally be interested in something related to other people, giving to others, home, family, or something connected to baking and cooking, not just in life, but also in the world of work. And the market values these jobs differently. Men's jobs generally pay better, women's jobs generally pay less, but no one is forcing anyone to choose a particular career. And I don't even understand where this whole "we must equalize the numbers" idea comes from. The average hair length for women is 12.7 centimeters, while for men it's 6.7. These two numbers need to be equalized, men should grow longer hair. The average nail length for women is 18 millimeters, while for men it's 11. These two numbers need to be equalized, men should grow longer nails. The average penis, why should these numbers be equalized? Why can't everyone simply have the hair length, the nail length, or the salary they personally feel comfortable with? So, if I understand correctly, this video isn't about claiming that women are less intelligent. Absolutely, of course. I mean, no, it's not about that. Oh, phew. Well, that's great. It's good news after all. But then, there is still one thing I don't understand. If this is a free choice, why would anyone voluntarily pick a lower paying job? Well, because... You're right, maybe women are dumber after all. I knew it. I just knew it. I'm kidding, I got them kidding. The high-paying professions may pay better, but they also come with a lot of downsizes. But this could be the subject of a whole video, so it will be. We will properly break that down in the next episode. It will be great if you just order food and fuck off. Like someone who's fucking wasted.